check it out. There's mustard on the ground right now. Okay, so we're checking out this investigation about who murdered Miss White. So let's go. Check it out. Are we still recording? Of course we're recording. This is it. A dedicated investigation. All right, let's go. All this mustard. There's another mustard down the ground, bro. Criminals, you know, right? Criminals. Despicable actions. Pick more mustard. Definitely not pick it up for another take. That's not what we do around here. Damn, bro. So many mustards.
Is that the last mustard packet?
Yeah.
Hey, what'd you do with all those mustards?
I'm Colonel Mustard, bro. All right, well, this is my art, okay? I was just pestering Mr. Guevara over there for extra credit and, you know, extra help, and he just said no, all right? It's unbelievable, all right? Let me be, okay? People are saying that I killed, like, Miss White and all that. Man, is this Breaking Bad, bro? No. You can't prove that I'm guilty.
We will now begin the explanation of the Super Nathan test.
All right, during the Super Nathan test, we have three solutions. We have the mystery solution, the calcium chloride, and the sodium carbonate. And so the calcium chloride and sodium carbonate were formed during the White lab
as stock solutions.
Yeah. And so during experiment, we had the spot plate, two spot plates. So one of the spot plates, we took 3 drops of the mystery solution and 3 drops of the calcium chloride. And this formed a precipitate. On the other hand, on the other spot plate, we took 3 drops of the mystery solution and then 3 drops of the sodium carbonate, and nothing formed. And so since nothing formed with the combination of mystery solution and the sodium carbonate, and a precipitate formed from the mystery solution and calcium chloride, we conclude that the mystery solution had to be sodium carbonate.
Alright, so in our balance equation, we see we have Na2CO3 aqueous plus CaCl2 aqueous goes to 2 NaCl aqueous plus calcium carbonate, which is our solid. In our ionic equation, we see we have 2 Na plus 1 aqueous plus 3 carbonate minus 2 aqueous plus Ca plus 2 aqueous plus 2 Cl minus 1 aqueous goes to 2 Na plus 1 aqueous plus 2 Cl minus 1 aqueous plus CaCO3 solid. And finally, in our net ionic equation, taking out all our spectator ions, we have calcium plus 2 aqueous plus carbonate minus 2 aqueous goes to calcium carbonate solid. And I think it's very important to point out that, as shown in our balance equation, our mystery solution, Na2CO3, plus our CaCl stock solution, CaCl2, sorry, as well as our precipitate, calcium carbonate, all have one-to-one reactions. That means is, as long as the limiting is one of these, the moles of that limiting will be the same as the moles of the precipitate, making it possible to take the moles of the precipitate and then thus know what the moles of our mystery solution is, which is what we carried out in our experiment. And so this is all the fundamental basis of our experiment thus far.
All right, so this is our third part of our experiment, which is the final results. And so to start, to find out who was the actual assassin here, murderer, we eliminated the people whose mystery solutions didn't match ours. So Miss Scarlet had calcium chloride, which was not our solution, and then also Mr. Green had calcium chloride, which wasn't our solution. So those two were immediately eliminated. After that, we took a look at our 3 trials to ensure that our data was accurate and the DA would like us. So first off, we got grams of 0.12, 0.17, and 0.22. And then we know that the molar mass of calcium carbonate is 100.09. So we divided by that to get moles of 0.0012, 0.0017, and 0.0022. And so from here, we know that molarity is moles over liters. And we used 8 milliliters of the mystery solution and then 16 milliliters of the calcium chloride to ensure that it was in excess.
To ensure that the calcium chloride was in excess,
Yeah.
and so the moles of the mystery would be the same amount as the moles of the precipitate.
Correct. So from here, we would convert that into liters, which is 0.008. And then using that, we would divide our moles found here by our liters of 0.008 to have molarity of 0.1835, 0.2123, and 0.275. From here, we were able to get Colonel Mustard, whose range was from 0.2 to 0.3.
Because our average was 0.25 molarity. And so we found the killer.
Okay, so once we have all that theory aside, now we need to get to the actual portion of the experiment. So like we pointed out, we used the 8 milliliters of the mystery solution, which was our Na2CO3, and used 60 milliliters of our CaCl2 solution to ensure that our mystery wasn't limiting, and since the limiting reactant determines the moles of everything else, the moles of the precipitate would be the same as the moles of the Na2CO3, allowing us to divide. Once we did that, we did 3 trials, and in the trials, we mixed these two, so 60 milliliters of calcium chloride and 8 milliliters of Na2CO3 until a precipitate formed. Once a precipitate formed, we used filter paper to filter out all the supernatant and only keep the precipitate, and at which point we then put it in a heating oven and waited for all the water in it or all the chemicals, supernatant, to evaporate out, thus leaving only the precipitate and thus allowing us to get an accurate mass of the precipitate. Also point out, in the way we did that was we measured the mass of the filter paper beforehand, and then we measured the mass of the filter paper and precipitate after, giving us the mass of the precipitate for all 3 trials, which you have here, which we then converted to moles molarity, like we will explain in a later video. Oh, in terms of source of error in this lab, some sorts of error, but the water wasn't fully evaporated, or the supernatant wasn't fully evaporated when we took the masses, giving us improper gram count. Other sorts of error were loss of mass and spilling, or adding extra stuff being added. Uncertainty measuring, as uncertainty in the weighing mechanism, and uncertainty in measuring the graduated cylinder. And finally, it's an open system, so other things could have entered or left the system that we did not account.
After intensive investigation, we figured out that Colonel Mustard was guilty of killing Mrs. White.